All right, welcome to Books and Whatever Else, and I'm your guest, Asher Dart, and or your host, and my special guest is RJ Rose.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. I just been trying to recuperate and all that.
Yeah. You doing a lot better?
Yeah, getting there, getting there. I don't know. I'm not used to back pain, so this is all new to me. So
Yeah. Well, thank goodness it's just some pains and stuff, though.
yeah, it was. I mean, looking at the crash, being this far away from it, I definitely feel lucky.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, let's get into some questions. What made inspired you to write? Was it a person or a book or just something you've always done?
Um, I think what really inspired me to start writing and publishing was a couple friends of mine who are authors. They were working on their stuff and I was beta reading for them. This was probably around 2017 or so. And I had a core group of friends like Justin Woodward, Jay Z Foster, and Jay Sigler. And I was reading their stuff and I got that writing bug. So I started writing a few shorts here and there. And of course, my early stuff, it is what it is. You're just learning to write then. So
Mm-hmm.
I finally produced a piece that I felt comfortable enough with, and I let them finally read it. And I was like, "You think this is good enough to publish?" And they said, "Yeah, man, go for it." So that's really what got me started.
Yeah, awesome. So,
That
what
was
was
my
your
first,
first book?
that was my first book, and it's titled
Mm-hmm.
Girl's Best Friend.
Girl's best friend.
And it's kind of like a psychological thriller horror.
Mm-hmm.
Got the idea from a dream that I had, and it was a little girl sitting on her porch reading a book, and as she's reading the book, she's watching a spider weave a web in the spindles on the porch, and they she thinks the spider is her best friend. So
Hmm. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to read that. I'm terrified of spiders, so I like to push myself with spider books sometimes.
yeah, I'm not a fan of spiders either, so it's kind of like cathartic in that way.
I will literally jump out the car going down the road if I see a spider. I do not play with them.
Oh yeah,
So,
I think it
what?
was
Mhm.
well, it was like the other day. I don't know how, but we had this humongous spider in our house, and it had weaved a web in the doorway. I mean, all the way across. And I'd walked through that doorway. Then I turned around, looked up, and I was like, uh. And then I was like, Jessica, come save
Save
me.
me.
So yeah, she was like, you big baby. I was like, nope, don't mess with them.
Not even little ones that don't matter. Don't matter at all. So, what would be your favorite book out of any genre? Or maybe, a lot of people, it's hard to pinpoint one. So maybe like a couple, or maybe you have a favorite series
Out of the horror genre or
or any genre.
any genre, I mean, I've been a huge fan of, and it's very divisive, but since I read it in high school, I've been a huge fan of Catcher in the Rye. And it's so hit and miss with people. Either you love it or you hate it.
Hmm.
And I just think if you can read it and understand that it's really a beautiful tale of what Holden Caulfield's ideal situation is, or like his dream scenario is to be the catcher in the rye, and that's to save other children from falling to their death, really. And that's what that book's about. So, I mean, that and I really love Clockwork Orange, the
Me
book
too.
and the movie. I mean, the movie got me to read the book. And then probably deep horror wise, Pet Cemetery is one of my favorite books. And then trying to go from genre to genre. I'll go
Are
with
you a
those.
fantasy fan?
Fantasy?
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't read much fantasy lately, but I think there's a few authors that, you know, genre jump and anything Ray Bradbury does. His is fantasy sci-fi, like any of the Martian Chronicles or stuff like that. And Ray Bradbury is definitely one of my favorite authors. So he transcends genre boundaries. And then I like Tolkien. It's a hard read to get into the Lord of the Rings, but The
I love
Hobbit,
them. I love them.
yeah, The Hobbit is fantastic. I've probably read
Mhm.
that 3 or 4 times in my life so far, and I've read Lord of the Rings one time through, and a couple of the side books that go along with that, like the Silmarillion and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to think of other fantasy. One fantasy series that I've read and loved was R.A. Salvatore, and he did one called The Demon Wars, and
Yes,
that,
I love those.
yeah, so that's a very interesting take.
Mhm.
He takes all those fantasy tropes and from book one throws them out the door by nerfing the
Mhm.
big strong hero type and switches it over to a woman and stuff like that, and she's got to learn how to come into her own and perfect her magics. So
I love stuff like that. That's probably like some of my favorite things to read is
yeah,
fantasy with like really good character development and stuff, where the female MCs end up being like badasses. I love that.
yeah, and of course Game of Thrones, I've read all those, but still waiting
We're gonna be waiting forever.
a decade now since the last published book. So whenever, George,
Come on. Are you enjoying House of the Dragon?
I am. Me and my
Me
wife definitely.
too.
That's like one of those series and current shows that me and my wife both cannot wait till Sunday for.
Hmm.
Um, Usually we're the binge type where we'll let a season complete before we start watching it so we can just watch 2 or 3 episode chunks at a time, like The Boys. It just finished this week, so we're going to start watching the newest season of The Boys. But with House of the Dragon, you learned long ago that you cannot wait on Game of Thrones or you will get
Mm.
spoiled
Yep. Yep.
bigger than shit. So
The internet does not care. As soon as it airs, they're just out there with everything.
yeah,
But the boys, have you watched Gen V?
I watched it. Yeah, Genevieve. It's
I
fantastic.
thought I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, like I think everything that the boys has put out so far has been great. So the main series and the side series. I hope they do a season 2 of Gen V. Like I haven't heard anything about it, but
I would
yeah.
love that. So let's get back into some more books. What was the favorite book of yours that you had written? Or maybe one that you had the most fun writing that was just so easy and just came to you?
Probably, I mean I don't have a lot of solo books out. I have like 4, I think, 5,
Hmm.
but I do a lot of anthologies
Those are
stuff.
so fun.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I'll pick one of each. So with an anthology so far, I mean, they're all good. They're all great. The best thing about those is getting to experience new authors and then
Hmm.
falling in love with their work and then going out to seek their work afterward because you just love their small snippet of a story that they wrote for that book.
Hmm.
So Harvested holds a very special place in my heart because that's really the first official book that From the Ashes put out after the rebranding,
Hmm.
and it was an invite only. So it was a lot of friends and a lot of acquaintances that I met by doing other anthologies that I got to invite into that one. And I mean, everybody just knocked it out of the park with that one.
I love the cover for that too.
Yeah, it's a hand-drawn cover by Jagannath, who has also done the Brad Namakan books and stuff.
I
And
love those.
he just nails it. Um, so as an anthology, it's hard to pick a baby, but
Hmm.
that holds a special place in my heart. And then with my solo works, I probably Necronado. It's my newest release. It came out February this year, but it was a lot of fun to write that one. After I got going with it was a struggle getting it, getting the pacing down. But after I got going, it just wrote itself afterwards. I would hit, and because of that, I didn't have any restrictions because it's pretty much a horror comedy,
Hmm.
and so I could just inject my own humor into it wherever I wanted to. And then if I hit a block or something like stumbled with where do I go from here, I just went somewhere off into left field and it made sense. So that made it a lot easier to write. So
Yeah, I love the horror comedies and like the horror bizarre. Like those are the most fun to write and the most fun to read to me.
yeah.
I love something that you can read and it makes you say what the fuck but laugh at the same time.
Oh yeah. I've gotten tons of people um give me feedback and stuff with that. Like I have like a small section of that story is like ending a chapter with a woman saying something about um I'm not allowed in Applebee's no more. I got banned from every location. And then maybe two chapters later it comes back in and that's what happened to Applebee's, and the people she's telling the story to's reaction is just so visceral. And I never tell what happened at Applebee's, but a couple of the readers have been like, "Oh my God, that slayed me." So that was a good feeling. But maybe I'll write that story one day, as a side piece for
Yeah,
the tale of Applebee's and that character.
the tale of Applebee's. So is there any projects that are coming up that you can talk about?
Current projects, I am damn near wrapping up Hootenanny Horror Show. So it's pretty much done. I think today's Friday. I think I'm going to be putting up the pre-order either today or tomorrow for that. And I believe it's going to be published probably the first week of August. And then I've been currently working on, I had a short story in one of my anthologies, and it was maybe my very first attempt to write horror comedy. It's called Devil on My Shoulder, and it's about Lucifer, but it's also about Lucifer's cat that nobody else can really see. But devil on my shoulder. So who's the devil on Lucifer's shoulder? It's his cat,
Hmm.
always giving him bad advice or telling him, bad stuff to do. So I'm writing a sequel story to that, and I'm going to put those in a chap flip book together to where it's two stories in one chapbook, but to read the second story, you flip the book over.
Oh, I
So it's
love that idea.
upside down technically if
Hmm.
you're reading one story and then you flip it over and then it's vice versa.
That's awesome.
So I got the idea from Tommy Clark. Him and Chase Will did a book like that together, and I was like, I could do that. So Tommy, I believe Tom. I don't know how to do that like formatting wise, but Tommy said he would help me. So
Oh, I
that,
bet that's a hassle though.
yeah, like it's foreign to me. So
Me too.
that's one story I'm working on getting out. Probably by the time TBR rolls around, I should have that book out. Um, a few other things I've wrapped up. one short story for an anthology I was invited to, and I'm getting that finalized this week. Um, and then I have one book coming out through Books of Horror for an anthology there that I'm trying to do annually. So
Hmm.
that should be coming out this fall. I don't have too much info on that because I'm still waiting on a few stories for that one. But if you were around last fall,
Mhm.
um, and you saw the book I put out, it's going to
Yeah,
be a follow-up to that book. So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So the cons, you're going to TBR. What other cons are you going to be attending?
I was originally going to go to Books and Brews, which is in just south of Chicago, and that was at the first week of August.
Hmm.
But I think because of what happened this past week, I'm gonna have to pull out of that one. But I
Yeah,
will be at TBR Con, and then a month after that, I should be at Scares that Carry St. Louis.
I'll be at both of those too.
And then there's going to be a local event at the end of October, and it's in Charleston or St. Albans, which is just next to Charleston. And a friend of mine, London Blue, is putting on that event. I went last year, and because I had those three events lined up for this fall already, I wasn't sure if I could make it. So as long as I'm feeling up to it, I think I'm going to make that at the middle of October. And I think Jason Nicky said he was going to go to that one, so it would be good to see him again. And
Hmm.
so
He's going to be at TBR. I'm so excited to see him again.
we
I
live
love the
kind of
hell
close
out of him.
together. You know, we live like 2 hours apart, but 2 hours is 2 hours. So
Where do you live at? What state do you live in?
West Virginia.
I live in North Carolina,
What part of North Carolina?
Durham, North Carolina, right by Raleigh.
Okay. I mean, how far is that from Charlotte?
Um, 2 hours.
Okay. I think it takes us, because I live southeast West Virginia, right on the border of Virginia, because that's where I work is Virginia. Um, it takes us probably 2.5, 2 hours to get to Charlotte
Hmm.
and or wait, maybe not Charlotte. Um, I'm thinking of the North Carolina, South Carolina border. You know where
I'm right by
Carowinds
like,
is?
huh?
Where Carowinds is and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it takes us maybe 2.5 hours to get to that border. So you're probably about 2 hours away from me.
Yeah, I'm farther towards Virginia. It took us like not even 3 hours to get to Scares.
Oh, Lord, you're closer than me. And I live next door. It takes us about 4.5 hours, 5 hours to get to Williamsburg. So yeah.
So, do you have any other talents besides writing or any like weird quirks about yourself? Like maybe you don't want your food to touch or little things like that?
Um, yeah, I hadn't thought about this one too much. So I don't know. Talent. I used to make a lot of jewelry out of hemp,
That's a
and like
talent. Yeah.
um, I
I love hemp jewelry.
just out of the blue, I bought some hemp probably a couple weeks ago and just pounded down the necklace and made it. It's like the
Oh, I
blackened
like that.
spiral, and like I've been looking at different ways to do some different jewelry, like a necklace or a bracelet or something.
Hmm.
And I was like, I've never seen red and black hemp together, and I would really like to. So I went and found some of that on the internet, and I'm going to order that. And I was thinking about um just reaching out to people that I'm friends with in the horror community, like
Hmm.
um Megan Stockton. I think she would like one who, which is what I'm wearing today. That's her shirt.
Oh, I
But
like that. I got a nerd shirt on.
yep, indeed. I'd make you one if you want one.
I would definitely wear one.
But I made that originally for my wife, so I gotta find a nice pendant to put on it. But I used
Hmm.
to get real fancy with making hemp jewelry and like stuff in high school. So that's been like almost 20 years ago. So I used to
The
do it
only,
all the time.
the only jewelry I made in high school was the little plastic things that you did, like the little loops, and it made like the little knots or whatever, and you made bracelets and stuff out of them.
Yeah, that's essentially what hemp is just making knots. It's macrame, you know.
Hmm.
But I can make I can make hemp jewelry in my sleep, like because I've done it so much. So there's that weird talent. Um,
That is a weird talent.
um, quirks, I don't know. Like, I mean, is anybody gonna top Stuart Bray with his fear of the open toilet during the shower?
No pee pee.
I mean, spiders. Like, I'm irrationally afraid of spiders. Like,
Mhm.
just, and I think that goes back from childhood with my sister tormenting me with like granddaddy long legs and stuff. Like, they're just so freaky looking, you know.
Oh, I can't stand them.
But um, aside from that, I'm sure I have some weird things, but
Yeah. My little weird quirk is I just can't drink anything that don't have a lid. It has to have a lid.
yeah, like it kind of. I see people taking like a mug in a car or like an
Mm-mm.
open top cup, and I'm like, that's kind of skeeves me out because
Mhm.
like something could just fall in it or something, and I'm like,
Yep.
hey,
Ugh. Just
yeah,
drink anything. My
yeah,
husband will wake up in the middle of the night and it'll be like a cup that he had yesterday and he just drinks it. And I'm like, you have no idea what's in it. Why don't you put it up? It drives me crazy.
yeah. I like to have a lid or a bottle with a cap on it or something, something.
Something, gotta have something.
Might be a spider in there for all you know.
Well, I
But
look forward to seeing you at TBR. I really do.
yep, less than a month, about a month and a half away, right? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
PBR is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a lot of folks there. It's going to be interesting. I think TBR will be my first event that's not solely horror because I
Hmm.
know she's going to have some other genres there. Megan is. So I'm very interested to meet those folks and see how they are
Hmm.
because I've been to about 5 or 6 events now, and it's been all horror. So it's going to be interesting to see how the other genres mix in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some like fantasy and stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Yeah, like indie fantasy. What's that all about? Like I see it around. I know a few people that like dabble in, you know, with horror who also side on fantasy and stuff, but I guess it's just not my crowd because I don't see a lot of it. Indie fantasy, indie sci-fi. So
Z Martin does some indie fantasy, and he's
okay,
really good.
he's gonna be in Hootenanny Horror Show.
That's awesome. That's awesome. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, and his
I
writing.
yep, I do like his writing. So
Hmm. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. It's storming here. Was it storming there?
it's not right now, but it's probably moving up towards us. And
Hmm.
like I know, yeah, like we get a
The
lot of
light
we've been getting
flickered.
a lot of storms from the west, but
Hmm.
yeah,
It's nice as long as the power don't cut off. I got a metal tin roof and my on my porch, so I go out there and listen to it, and it just sounds amazing. But then, you get them lights cut off, and I'm more in the country, so
yep,
it gets dark.
yep. Um, so does that help? Have you ever like nodded off, listened to that tink 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 on the metal roof? Like,
It's like the best place to take a nap at. We have a couch on the porch just for that.
yep. Anybody that's lived in the country or has one of them tin roofs, they know it'll
Hmm.
lull you to sleep faster than anything. In a
So,
storm, thunderstorm, you know.
hmm
Yep.
and it's great.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
the sound of the fan or something like that, but like 10 times better.
Yeah. If you're sleeping and the power goes off and that fan goes off, you're like, what's going on?
Immediately, immediately, even if it's
Immediately.
wintertime, I
Yeah,
need my fan.
got to. I travel with a fan. Like when I go to events and stuff, I have a specific fan I take with me that I bought. I'm like, and if I forget it at home or something, I'm like, first thing we do when we get to the area, going to go buy a fan because I'm not going to sleep without it. You know, like I will not.
Hmm.
Like my body will not let me. So
It
that
won't
that might
allow
be a
you.
weird quirk, right? You know?
It, yeah, because some people probably can't sleep with fans on and stuff or can't stand the noise. But
Yeah,
like to me and probably to you, that noise is what helps you go to sleep.
yeah. Like think about all them people out there sleeping without a fan. What are you doing?
What are you
Listen to
doing?
yourself breathe. Is that what you want to do? Is that where you want to be?
I literally snore with my mouth open and I snore like a bear, or sleep with my mouth open, snore like a bear, and I have the fan on me and wake up. Mouth is so dry, but like I will not cut the fan off.
No, no, you can't. Uh,
So we're the normal people. The rest of them are the weirdos.
exactly. I think there's a lot more fan sleepers than what they let on. They just like
Hmm.
just not public about it. They need to. We
Hmm.
need to make a support group,
Don't be ashamed.
right? Be a fan of your fan.
Be a fan of your fan. Making OnlyFans literally for fans. Like,
Exactly. That'd be about the only way I'm getting on OnlyFans is just a fan.
right? Just a room full of fans and you just record the fans all
But
day.
this is my number one fan.
I take it everywhere.
It's good.
Well, this was fun. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
Yep. I really enjoyed talking to you too.
And probably have you back sometime, when I get this shit all together and stuff. I took like a little 2 week break. So you're my first guest that I've had back. And I really appreciate you coming.
Well, glad to be here, and I'll do it anytime you want.
Hell yeah. And thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.